Hey y'all. The other day I did a message on here and it was called Judgment Against False Women Prophets, and I said a separation is coming. Well, anyway, I take it that this platform do not like for you to speak against sin and to speak up and to warn the people. So they censored the video, and God told me they censored it. So he told me to go back and do something, and when I went back and did it, they censored it again. But I want to tell somebody, if God is using you to get out and speak against the sin and to tell people and warn them about the evil and wickedness in this world, I want to tell you, keep speaking up. Because God told me he didn't care if 3, 4, 5 people viewed it. He said as long as it reached just that one, as long as that one person took heed to that message, he said you keep going and you keep speaking up. And it's just so strange how for the past couple of days, since I have done that message, for the past couple of days, I have seen people get on here and say the same thing, where people have been coming up against them because they're talking about Jesus, and that's all they talk about. And they've been saying how people been, saying stuff to them. Let me tell you something. Keep speaking up. Because ain't nobody mad but the devil. And God told me, after that happened, he told me, keep your foot on that devil's neck. That means to keep doing what God is telling you to do. That means to keep speaking up. Because the word going to come forth. Regardless of how many people try to tell you to be quiet. Regardless of how they try to censor your messages. Let me tell you something. The word still, the prophecy is still going to come to pass. And when it reached the right ears, it's just a warning. And they will be prepared, because when God brings out a warning, he's telling you to prepare yourself. And if you don't, you will be caught up in judgment. So it ain't going to stop what God is saying going to happen. It's not going to stop nothing. But I want to tell you that if God are using you to get out and warn the people, however he's using you, regardless of what people is saying, if they trying to censor your videos, keep speaking up. And that's what God was telling me. And I thought maybe it was just for me. But God told me to get out and tell his children, the ones that he is using, your voice to speak up and to speak against the wickedness in this world. He told me to tell you to keep going. And the other week, he gave Apostle Murray the message. Don't sit on it. Speak up against sin. Don't compromise. And I knew the message was for me. But not knowing what was coming ahead of me. But God knows. God knows all the opposition that's going to come up against you. But that don't mean for you to stop. That don't mean for you to be quiet. Because it's not about you. And remember, if you don't do what God is telling you to do, you will be held accountable. That's what he said in the word. You will be held accountable. So regardless if it's just 1 or 2, 3 people viewing it, you might not even get in the lights. Guess what? You have done exactly what God has told you to do. It's time to speak up. It's time to do the work. Because that's what Satan wants you to do, to be quiet. They didn't shut this app down for no reason. It was a reason behind it. But it can't stop nothing. And it won't stop what is getting ready to happen. So keep speaking up. Don't let nobody censor you, regardless of what people is saying. If Jesus had to go through it, you going to have to go through it too. They didn't want him to speak. They told him to get up out their town. Who are you? For you to feel like you privileged. Well, ain't nobody gonna come up against me. Ain't nobody gonna tell me to be quiet because I'm speaking about the word of God. Who are you? And I had to learn that. And I was telling somebody the other day how it censored me. And I told them, I said, but guess what? It's like I always talk about how Jeremiah was mad because how the people wanted to kill him and was telling him to be quiet, but God put that fire in his belly. So it's like the more opposition come up against you, it's going to make you go stronger for God. Like it what it does to me now, it's like God really put the fire in my belly. Like, okay. I'm going to keep speaking up. I'm going to keep speaking against it. Because it's a warning. Who wants to sit back and watch people live in deception, in lies, in sin because of what man have said? It's time to wake up. And if God have instilled that in you, speak up. Don't worry about what people is saying. Don't worry about how many likes, how many views. And I was telling somebody, I remember I used to be like that. But I'm in a whole different place now. Like, I don't care. I'm going to keep doing what God is telling me to do. Because I would rather see somebody get set free from deception than to sit around here constantly being deceived by the enemy. I can't do it. I can't stand it. If God set me free from bondage and from deception, guess what? I'm not ready to sit back and watch somebody else sit in darkness. So I'm going to keep speaking up. And God told me to tell you, if you have that gift of speaking against sin and telling people, warning people about what God is saying that's going to come to pass, if they don't turn away from their sinful ways, keep speaking up. Because they called Jesus a liar. They told him he was Satan. They told him to be quiet. So you let it be all three above. All of the above. Let it be you. But at the end of the day, let God keep using you. Don't bag down. Stand 10 toes down. Keep your foot on the devil's neck. And don't be quiet. And let God use you the way he wants to use you. Bye, y'all.